And we're talking about how Hollywood got the election wrong, and last night Hollywood got the Oscars wrong. It is the one thing people are talking about this morning, even though, as it turns out, the Oscar cast was very anti-Donald Trump. There were dozens of anti-Trump jokes and whatnot. People today are talking about how when he was given the card, Warren Beatty, right there, a legend of Hollywood, simply had Faye Dunaway read. It said La La Land, but as it turns out, it was the wrong card. It was the Emma Stone winning Best Actress, and everything went haywire from there.
But that is all we're talking about this morning. Should we bring in our Oscar expert?
Yeah, you know what? We don't have that, so I'll bring in Tucker Carlson.
Tucker, are you there?
I'm right here. That was amazing.
Tucker, is this karma or what?
Well, finally something interesting happens at one of these dumb award shows.
It just happened to be after midnight.
Well, and it couldn't happen to better people. Really? Really? And you knew it had to happen because Moonlight had to win. That's the law. There was really no way around that. This was a foregone conclusion because it's not just a good movie, it's an important movie. It's a movie that instructs you, that changes you morally. And that's kind of the aim of Hollywood, is to not just to entertain, but to instruct.
All right. Well, Tucker, many of us were asleep and didn't even see this live. For everyone else out there who also missed it, let's take a look.
For Best Picture.
You're impossible. Come on.
La La Land.
There's a mistake. Moonlight, you guys won Best Picture.
Moonlight won. Come on, this is not a joke. This is not a joke. I'm afraid they read the wrong thing.
This is not a joke. Moonlight has won Best Picture. Moonlight, Best Picture.
This is very unfortunate what happened. Personally, I blame Steve Harvey for this. Warren, what did you do?
I opened the envelope, and it said, Emma Stone, La La Land. That's why I took such a long look at Faye and at you. I wasn't trying to be funny.
Well, you were funny.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Wow, this is
Moonlight, the Best Picture.
Yeah.
Okay, so, Tucker, some of our emailers said things like this. And the winner is Hillary Clinton. Whoops. This goof is nothing new for Democrats.
That's pretty good.
All right, here's another one. Tucker, here's one more. They keep coming in this morning. Obviously, the Russians did it, of course. Putin swapped envelopes.
I wouldn't put it past him. He's diabolical. Have you ever noticed how bad a lot of actors are at ad-libbing? No matter how brilliant they are in their roles, the second there's no script, they kind of fall apart, and it becomes so delightfully uncomfortable. Well, and I could watch this forever.
Warren Beatty did what actors do. He read what was on the card, but the card was wrong.
Yeah, it's perfect. But again, it was foregone. I mean, you knew that Moonlight had to win because you knew what the film was about. And that's part of the problem with Hollywood. Tons of really talented people there, brilliant at making movies.
Right.
But the second you feel a political imperative, it destroys your art. But the second you feel like you need to elevate the country, you become overbearing and pompous and boorish, right?
Listen, I'm not a professional movie critic, although I have a knack for it and no one agrees. But I will say this. You're pointing out to last year there were a bunch of protests because everybody, the only people nominated were white. You think there was an overcompensation this year? Is that what you're alluding to?
Look, I don't know. I wasn't there during the voting, but I do know that as a general matter, Hollywood feels this obligation to bring the rest of the country up to their moral level, which is obviously very lofty. They look out on the rest of the country and they think, boy, you are backwards and medieval, you're loathsome, but we're going to make you better with our films. And again, whenever politics intrudes on art, it distorts and corrupts the art. It makes it less good. That's why Soviet realism was mostly garbage, because the point was to educate people. And I just think they went off the rails when they tried to do that.
But for a business model, does it make sense when a 4-hour telecast is so anti-Donald Trump? And it was anti-Donald Trump until the last 10 minutes when it ran off the rails. Clearly, they have got a point of view. It is way to the left. But still, you want people to like them and go watch the movies, don't you?
Well, sure. I mean, and a lot of the stuff is garbage anyway. It just doesn't, you know, there's nothing good about a lot of the movies. There's an amazing renaissance happening and has been for a number of years in television, as you know, scripted television. There's a lot of great stuff that's deeply artistic and challenging and smart and cool.
Right.
But the movies, you know, their economic model is being really challenged right now.
Yeah.
And they're responding by putting out just worse stuff, I think.
All right, Tucker, we want to get your thoughts as well on the DNC race, the big race that happened over the weekend. Who was going to sort of rebuild the Democratic Party? And ultimately, it went to the establishment player, Tom Perez. A lot of people, including President Trump, are saying this whole thing was rigged. He had President Barack Obama behind him, Hillary, the Clintonites. What are your thoughts? Do you think it's rigged?
Well, I mean, it's rigged in some broader sense, sure. The preference, and not just the Democratic Party, but of political parties in general, is for the better-funded candidate, for the better-funded side. I mean, they pay more attention to donors than they do to voters. And Perez was the pick of the Clinton people and of the Obama people. Ellison was the pick of a lot of the grassroots. It was really close. But in the end, of course, the moneyed side won. What they're hoping, and this is bad news in a couple ways, they're hoping that common loathing of Donald Trump will unite the party. They have a serious rift in the middle of that party. They just don't agree with each other. And weirdly, paradoxically, and you all do a lot of this on Fox and Friends, you expose this, I think the Bernie Sanders and the Ellison people, as far out and socialist as they are, in some ways are more reasonable because they actually believe in something beyond just acquiring more power.
Well, listen, Tucker, they were quick to point out that the Tea Party was hurting John Boehner back and forth. You have to point out how Bernie Sanders has no interest in getting along with this new DNC regime, no matter how much it happens. And I got to give credit to Robert Reich. He says the Democratic Party is in terrible shape, worse shape than ever since really the 1920s, and it's going to take a huge uprising to turn things around. That wasn't a huge uprising. And Donald Trump had the best tweet yet. Congratulations to Tom Perez, who has just been named chairman of the DNC. I could not be happier for him or for the Republican Party. He sees this as a big win. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, but I actually think if it's going to turn out that the Democratic Party is going to need to be more obstructionist just because they need to keep hatred of Trump, you know, front and center, because it's the only thing that holds the party together. The paradox is the Ellison people and the Bernie people are way more likely to have common cause with Trump because they're both sympathetic to populist economics. Like, they might actually have something in common with the infrastructure plan, with some of the health care ideas. But the Obama and the Clinton people, they're just about winning. They just want power. They don't care what it takes. They don't have principles. I don't think this is good news for anybody, actually.
Well, in particular, the Democrat, the DNC, when you look at the game plan going into the November election, essentially it was, hey, vote for Hillary. She's not Donald Trump.
Exactly.
And so if they're going to continue that, that's a loser.
Well, it's a loser, and it's also tiresome and boring. Okay, he's immoral. I'm a good person. He's a bad person. Okay, fine. What does it have to do with fixing the country? Like, where are your ideas? They don't have any. And they may get along, you know, for the next year or so without having to present ideas because they can just make it all about Trump.
Tucker, they were saying after the vote, oh, now we're a united party. We had Ed Klein on the couch yesterday morning. He said that this infighting is actually, it could only get worse from here because under the surface, you've got Bernie Sanders really motivating people at the state level to nominate, you know, chairmen of the states that could, you know, really have an impact nationwide. I don't see this infighting in the Democratic Party settling down anytime soon.
No, because look, a lot of the grassroots of that party are really hostile to wealth and to capitalism, and yet the party is run and funded by a very small number of extremely rich people. So the conflict is inherent. The grassroots in that party really hate the people who run it. That's a huge problem over time.
And they may be further motivated by the vote over the weekend.
And
that's exactly right.
Tucker, do you believe President Obama fundamentally is going to be behind this? Is it going to turn out that he's pushing this, and that would violate the unsaid rules of the President's Club?
Those rules have long been violated. Look, I mean, President Obama is living here in Washington. He's not going away. And this is another huge problem for the party, is that as long as Obama and the people around him are running it, I mean, how can new leadership emerge? Nothing grows in the shade. So they're not going to, that party will not kind of come to terms with whatever it needs to be until Obama goes away, and that may be many years.
Yeah. Tucker, we're coming down to do the interview with the president this afternoon. You made sure that the guest bedrooms are clean?
At my house, I changed the sheets last month. You're all set.
Oh, great.
Last month.
So we get to say
Better than we can expect.
We stay at the Carlson complex.
Yes.
No more Marriott or Hyatt for us.
With my dogs.
Love it. Good to see you, Tucker. Have a good day.
See you soon.
We'll be watching it tonight, 9 p.m.
Thanks,
Eastern.
guys.
If we see him, I wonder if we'll detect if he's changed or not since he went to prime time.
Let me know.
Would you?